Welcome to Viveka Chudamani class after the Navaratri break. In the last class, we saw about Anatma. The Sishya asked a series of questions to his Guru. Ko nama bandhaha. What is the bondage, hey Guru, you are talking about? So the Guru said, with the knowledge of Brahman, you can go beyond the bondage of your body. Hey Sishya, you are that Paramatman, but you are bound by the body. That is why you have this problem of samsara. And when you have knowledge, you can you can get relieved of this samsara, the Guru said. Now the Sishya asked a series of questions. What is the bondage? And more importantly, what is how to get rid of the bondage? What is Atma? What is Anatma? Hey Guru, please explain all those things. The Sishya asked, and the Guru started his answer by answering his last questions, which are what is Atma and what is Anatma, and how to discriminate between Atma and Anatma. So that is the context. And the Guru started explaining what is the Anatma first, because it is very easier to explain than what is Atma. And the technique that the Guru follows here is that of a sculptor. We all know what a sculptor does. He basically removes the unessential parts of a stone and he brings out the statue which is hidden inside the stone. That is what a sculptor does. And the Guru here basically does the same thing. He basically says, hey, A, B, C, D, E, these are all anatmas, and whatever that is left has to be atma, because there are only two things, atma and anatma. And if he lists all the anatmas, whatever the thing that is left has to be atma. That is your original self. That is the technique, that is the nyayam that the Guru follows. And what are all the anatmas? The Guru basically starts from big things, and then he is going to go inside, he is going to go inside, he is going to go inside, and he is going to go inside. There is a nyayam. This nyayam is called as Shakha Chandra Nyayam. Apparently, in those days, I mean, even now, it is very auspicious to see the third phase of the moon, Moondram Pirai, the third day after Amavasya, after new moon day. It is very auspicious to see that moon. And very unfortunately, it is that moon which is very, 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 very difficult to see. So what do people do? Like a father and a son, or a mother and a daughter are standing outside and they want to look at the moon. What do they do? The mother can easily find the moon, but the daughter cannot find the moon. So what does the mother say? Hey, go. See, there is a very big tree there, right? And then the daughter will say, yes, there is a very big tree. And then look at the third stem, third branch from the left. So she shows a big thing, which is very, very easy to understand. And then she would narrow it to small thing. Okay, I see the third branch from the left. And look at the top of the third branch. Oh, there is a moon. The daughter will say. The Acharya follows the same Nyayam. He goes from the big thing into small, subtle things. He takes the grossest thing, which is the universe, and then he is going to go more subtle, more subtle, more subtle, more subtle, and eventually he will stop. He will end with Atma. Now, people will ask, Okay, why he has to do all those things? If the answer for samsara, if the solution for samsara is knowing your Atma, why can't you tell Atma first? All these gurus are doing hocus pocus. They don't know how to teach. The first thing that you should teach is Atma, and then only you should teach Anatma. People will ask. But the problem is, if we have too many bright things in front of our eyes, we cannot see subtle things. How to understand that? Okay, during the daytime, do we see stars in the sky? During the daytime, do we see stars in the sky? We don't see any stars, right? But there are stars in the sky even during the daytime. Even if the earth is facing towards the sun, there are going to be a lot of stars, but we just don't see it because the sunlight, the massive amounts of light from the sun will basically mask all the small, small, small stars that are in the sky, right? And when the sun goes down, the total brightness in the sky goes down, and our eyes will be trained to see very, very small things in the sky, such as stars. And if you want to prove, if you want any proof, you can actually see some stars during eclipse. Apparently, they proved Einstein's theory of relativity during one such eclipse. They measured the position of a star during the night sky and during an eclipse, and they found a very, very small difference, which can only be explained by Einstein's theory of relativity. Okay, so that aside, the goal of the Acharya here is to go from very big things to small things in order to train our mind to accept, um, tune our mind to see very, very small and subtle things such as Atma. And he starts with creation. And he says, how does the world and how is the universe created? He says, Akashad Vayuhu, Vayor Agnihi, Agnerapaha, Adbhyah Prithvi. The five Panchabhutas, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. So these five Panchabhutas were created in that order as a Sukshma Panchabhutani, and Bhagavan does some magic called as Panchikaranam in order to go from Sukshma Panchabhutas to Sthula Panchabhutas. So now we have the gross universe that we can actually see, that is tangible. And this gross universe, everything around the universe is made up of Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, and Prithvi. And that doesn't stop there. The including our body is made up of the five Panchabhutas. So that we saw. And our body has got five Jnanendriyas and five Karmendriyas, organs of perception and organs of actions. We have ear, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose in order to grasp the tanmatras, Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. And then we have five karmendriyas, mouth, hands, legs, genitals, and excretory organs in order to speak, act, move for procreation and for cleaning up of all the effluents. So these 10 things are called as Sthula Sharira. So here there is a very technical difference that we need to understand. Even though I am calling these things as Jnanendriya and Karmendriya, there are two things that are involved in ears. Let us take ear for example. there are 2 years, Shastra say. I mean, we all have 2 years, right? But those are not the 2 years Shastra say. But there are two types of years, Shastra say. What are the two types of year? The first is called as Golaka. You know, the physical year that we can all see, touch, etc. So that is the Golaka. It is the part of a body, part of our body that belongs to Sthula Sharira. Next is the faculty of hearing, the capacity to hear. That is called as Indriya, and that belongs to Sukshma Sharira, which we will see later. So we have 5 Golakas, 5 Jnanendriya Golakas, and 5 Karmendriya Golakas that together constitute our Sthula Sharira, the gross body that we have. And the gross body interacts with the sthula prapancha through the tanmatras, shabda sparsha rupa rasa gandha. So I hope, up to this, you people are clear. Even if we forget whatever I taught in the last class, the take home message was our body is made up of panchabhutas. Our body is made up of akasha, vayu, agnihi, apaha, prithvi, and the whole universe is also made up of the 5 panchabhutas, and our body interacts with panchabhutas through shabda sparsha rupa rasa gandha. Up to this, if you guys understand, that is fine. So these are called as indriyas. There is something called as vishayas. Indriyas are sense organs, and vishaya are called as sense objects. If I eat a gulab jamun, my mouth is the indriya. The gulab jamun is technically called as a vishaya because it is the sense object which my sense organ enjoy. My tongue is the sense organ. My tongue is the jnanendriya which enjoys the gulab jamun. And what is it it's enjoying? The object of my tongue is gulab jamun. If I see a nice Rajnikant movie, my eyes is the Jnanendriya. The Rajnikant movie is the Vishaya. That is the sense object. Okay. If I inhale nice rose scent, my nose is the Indriya and the scent is called as Vishaya. So this we need to be much more clear, because Acharya, before moving to the Stula Sharira, he talks a lot about Vishayaha, the sense objects, and why one should not get distracted with their sense objects, because the sense objects are so much around us. We derive pleasure from so many things that are around us, and normally we get a tendency to get addicted to those pleasures. So we have two pleasures. We have sense pleasures and we have Atmanandam. And if we get addicted towards our sense pleasures, then we are basically distracting ourselves from our ultimate goal, which is the pursuit of moksha. And if we distract ourselves from the pursuit of moksha, from getting jnanam, then we are not fulfilling our goal. We again will be born into the ocean of samsara. We born, we die, we born, we die. Punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. As Adi Shankaracharya say, if we get distracted always, we cannot even reach the end goal. So we have to be very, very careful in dealing with the external world. That is what Acharya is will be talking in about 20 shlokas. In fact, if you actually take up those shlokas in Viveka Chudamani, he uses very harsh words. And I'm going to tell some shlokas here, with a censored version, with a mellowed down version, because I want you guys to come to the next class. That is why I am mellowing down whatever the thing Acharya says. If you take and if you see at the literal translation, Acharya in fact uses very harsh words because he cares about us. So up to this, we are clear. Our body is anatma, and all the vishayas are also anatma. Our goal is towards atma. So if we are distracted by all the anatma around us, then we will definitely have a problem of reaching towards the end goal. And Acharya is going to, in about 20, 15, 20 shlokas, he is going to say the same thing again and again and again in different words. In fact, I would say Adi Shankaracharya is the best motivational speaker. If you think that you are deviating from your goal, it need not be moksha. You want to achieve something in your life, and some days while sleeping we will get the sudden jnanodayam. Hey, I wanted to do all these things in my life, but I get so distracted. If you ever get that thought, you should read these shlokas. Then the next day you will wake up at 4:30 in the morning. You will you will reach your goal. You will work so that you will reach your goal. So these are all very important shlokas, worth memorizing, worth do nitidhyasanam, worth doing dhyanam of. So let us see this shloka. ययेषु मूढा विषयेषु बद्धा रागोरुपाशेन सुदुर्दमेन आयान्ति निर्यान्ध ऊर्ध्वमुच्चैः स्वकर्मधूतेन जीवेन नीता. He says, those people, Mudha, he says Mudha, those Mudha people, those thoughtless people who do what? Vishayeshu baddhaha. Vishaya means sense objects. Baddhaha is bonded by. Those senseless people who are addicted to all the sense objects. How? Rago rupashena. Ragaha means attachment. Pashena, pasha, pasha is the kair. It is a rope. Apparently, attachment is like a rope which will prevent us from going further. Those people who are attached to all the sense objects, what do they do? Ayanti niryantyadha urdhvamuchaihi. Adha urdhvamuchaihi. Ayanti niryanti. They come down, they take birth, they go up after death. And then they come down, they take birth, they go up. Adha means going down. Urdhva means going up. What do? They will come down, take birth, then they die. They come down, they take birth, they will die. So they will be keep on in this ocean of samsara. They will not get moksha. Acharya says, who? The one who are addicted to their sense, the sense objects which prevents them from reaching their goal. So here one person can ask this question. Okay, if I do all these things, then there is a Bhagavan, right? People say Bhagavan is Karuna Murti. Why cannot he grant me moksha? It is very as simple as that, right? I give Bhagavan, some 50 cents worth of dates, and then I want moksha. It is so simple. If Bhagavan can give that, it is so simple. But Bhagavan says nothing doing. You are being born, because of your own karma. Swakarma dhutena jivena nitaha. You are being born because of your own karma. You have to be responsible for your own actions. I cannot give you any slack. I can only give you buddhi to know all those things, but you have to be responsible for your own action. That's what it is said here. Swakarma dhutena jivena nitaha. So this is first shloka. The second shloka, Acharya is giving 5 examples for 5 beings who, because of their addiction to sense pleasures, because of the addiction to sense objects, will eventually die. Let us see the shloka. Shabdadibhiv panchabhireva pancha panchatvamapusvagunena baddhaha kuranga matanga patangamina bringanaraf panchabhiranjita kim. He gives example of kuranga, matanga, patanga, meena, Bringa. These are the 5 animals that Acharya gives examples of. What are those? Kuranga means deer. Matanga means elephant. Padanga means moth, vittilpuchi. Mead means fish. Bringa means honeybee. Apparently, in those days when people were into poaching and things like that, in the வேட்டைக்கு போறதெல்லாம், if they want to catch deer, they play very nice music apparently, and all those deers will be so mesmerized by the music, they don't run away even if they see the poacher, and the person can easily kill the deer. So deer, it is so addicted to its shabda. Shabda means, sound. Deer, the sense object for deer is shabda. It gets addicted to shabda, it gets caught by the poacher. Matanga, elephant. And if you want to catch elephant, we all know, the movie also came in Tamil. If you want to catch an elephant, if you want to catch a female elephant, you actually bring a male elephant to control the female elephant. If you want to catch a male elephant, you bring a female elephant. So whatever the opposite gender, if you bring, the elephant get controlled because it really likes the touch, sparsha of the other gender. So the weakness of elephant is the sense object called as sparsha. The weakness of deer is the sense object called shabda, sound. For elephant, the weakness is sparsha. And moth, we all know vittilpuchi. What does vittilpuchi do? It comes near a lamp because it is so attracted by the form, attracted by the rupa of the lamp. And what does it do? It doesn't know that it is going to kill it. It doesn't know to stop. It eventually falls into the fire, because of which it is attracted to, and then it dies. So the weakness of a moth is rupa, forms, different forms. And fish, we all know, we see how do people catch fish. In the tundil, people will put some small worms, and the fish, in order to eat the worm, it comes near the tundil, and the fisherman catches the fish, right? So sabda sparsha rupa rasa, the sense object that the fish is addicted to is taste, is food, rasa. And honeybee, what happens to honeybee? Gandha. It is so addicted to the nice smell of flowers. It goes near the flower, it sits on the flower, it starts to drink honey, and alas, the flower closes, and the honeybee is now trapped inside the flowers. and the honeybee dies eventually. And there are some carnivorous plants as well, who, when the bee sits on it, it closes, and then the honeybee is now trapped inside. You know what Acharya says? If all these animals and insects, because of their weakness towards one sense object, eventually falls, what about humans with, with limitations of all five sense objects? We have weakness for Shabda, we have weakness for Sparsha, we have weakness for Rasa, we have weakness for Gandha, we have weakness for all these five sense objects. At least Kuranga deer has weakness only for one sense object, which is Shabda. We have weakness for all the five sense objects. So we have to be even extra careful, because once we fall to the trap of sense objects, we are gone. We are a finished case, says Shankaracharya in this shloka. Next shloka. Doshena tivro Doshena tivro Vishayaha Krishna Sarpa Vishadapi Visham Nihanti Bhoktaram Drashtaram Chakshushaapyayam. Here he compares the sense objects to a snake. He does all those comparisons because of his karuna, because he does not want us to waste this human janma. He says, doshena tivraha vishayaha krishna sarpa vishadapi. Krishna sarpa means a black snake. Krishna sarpa visha means a poison of the black snake. He says, doshena, because of the limitations, Vishayaha, the sense objects, are Tivraha, means they are more potent, they are worse than the poison of a snake, it seems. Why? He says, Visham Nihanti Bhoktaram Drashtaram Chakshushaapyayam. A snake's poison will only kill those people who have eaten it. Bhoktaram Visham Nihanti. But Drashtaram Chakshushaapyayam, even by seeing things, the sense objects is going to hurt me. Because if I see a nice movie, even if I have a lot of work to do, I will be watching that movie, forgetting the work I have. That is a very human nature. And Acharya says, you don't need to consume, you don't need to physically eat that visham. Just by seeing, just by smelling, all those vishayas, all those sense objects are going to pull you down, says Acharya in this shloka. Next shloka, Vishayasha Mahapashadyaha Vimuktas Sudustyajat Sayeva Kalpate Muktyai Nanyashad Shastra Vedyapi. He says, who can get moksha? He says, Vishayasha Mahapashat Yo Vimuktaha Su Dustyajat. He says, the person who is free. Vimuktaha means who has freed himself from the bondage of sense objects. Vishayasha, Vishaya Asha Mahapashat, from the bondage of sense objects, who has freed himself, he Sayeva Kalpate Muktyai, he alone will get mukti. Nanya Shadshastra Vedyapi, even if a person has karachu kudichified all the 6 shastras, but if he has a problem with his sense objects, he cannot get mukti. But that person who has freed himself from the poison of all the Vishaya, he gets mukti, he says. And in fact, he uses the word pashat. Pasha is that rope, which is the bondage. And that is why in Lalitambika, if we see the Dhyana Shlokam of Lalitambika, what does she has in her hands? Ragashwarupa Pashadya Krodha Karankushojwala Manorupekshu Kodanda Panchatanmatra Sayaka. She has Ragaswarupa Pashadya, attachment as a pasha. Krodhakarang Kushojwala. Krodha means anger. Anger as the angusha. Manorupekshu Kodanda. Mind. She has got a Kodanda. She has got a bow which is symbolic of mind. And Pancha Tanmatra Sayaka. Now we know what are Tanmatras. Sabdasparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha or Tanmatras. She has got all those five as arrows. You know what those things signify? They actually signify that all those things, raga, krodha, manaha, and tanmatra, are under the control of Ambal. If she has something in her hand, means I control that, right? கைக்குள்ளேயே வச்சுருக்கணும் அப்படின்னு தமிழ்ல சொல்லுவா. Means I control that. I am the master of my manas. I am the master of my krodha. I am the master of my raga, which is attachment. I am the master of my tanmatras. In fact, that is a very great symbolism. It says if a person who gets all these things under his or her control, that person can become Ambal herself. That is the symbolism of Lalita Para Bhattarika. What is Raga Swarupa Pashadya Krodha Karangushojwala? People don't have any work, so they started writing all these poems. No. All these things have got a great detail of Vedantic meaning. People don't want to tell all those explanations for a beginner. If I started for a Lalita, for a person who wants to chant Lalita Sahasranama, everything, that person will run away. So Shastra, our ancestors have formulated the syllabus such that you know everything, and then everything has got a deeper meaning which you can learn later. So the person who is freed himself from the clutches of Vishayas, sense objects, he alone gets mukti, says Acharya in this shloka. And in next shloka he says, Vishayakyagraha yena suvirakyasi nahataha sagachati bhavam bhode param pratyuha varjitaha. He says, suvirakti asina hataha. The person should slay Vishayagragrahato yena. Apparently all the Vishayas are like a shark, and a person should kill that shark with a sword. What is that sword? Virakti, detachment from all the sense objects. Here Acharya does not say, hey, you take sannyasa. He says, don't depend on all the Vishayas. Don't let all the Vishayas master you. Rather, you have all the Vishayas under your control. Remember Lalita Parameshwari, Ragaswarupa Pashadya, Krodhakarankushojwala, Manorupekshu Kodanda, Panchatan Matra Sayaka. Ambal never gives all those things to others. She keeps everything under her control, and that is what we all should aim for. And in next shloka, Acharya says, Vishama Vishayamargair Gacchato Nacha Buddhehe Pratipadhamabhiyato Mrityurapyesha Vidhi. Hita sujana guru tya gacchata swasya yukta prabhavati phala siddhi satyamityeva vidhi. He says apparently there is a race. If a person is walking towards, if the goal of the race is the sense objects, you will be overtaken by mrityu. Apparently mrityu here, literally mrityu means death, but here mrityu means samsara, because once you are born you will die, and when you die you will be born again. So if you are walking towards, if you are running towards all the vishayas, sense objects, you will be overtaken by the death. Apparently you will find death on the other end, meaning you will find samsara on the other end. But if you are walking towards satyam, if you are walking towards atma jnanam, you will get moksha on the other end. And how should be the atma jnanam? How should be that path? He says hita sujana guruktya gacchata swasya yuktya. He talks about two things. One is guru uktya. If you follow the path laid by the gurus, the great masters like Shankaracharyas, Adi Shankaracharya, who has treaded that path towards moksha, you will get moksha as well. And just following those people is not enough. Swasya yuktya, you have to apply your own logic. See the greatness of our dharma. Our dharma does not say follow anything blindly, but you have to apply your own mind as well. This is exactly what Bhagavan Krishna says in Gita. Krishna spent 700 shlokas in Gita telling Arjuna what to do, but he finishes his Upadesha with, Hey Arjuna, I have told you, lot of stuff. You, with your own brain, analyze those and you do what you deem to be good for you. So our Shastras will never force anyone to do anything. He says, hey, I can only show light. I can only let you know that all these things exist, but it is up to you whether you want to take it or not. And that is what Acharya says here. You have to follow the Vakya of Guru. And how should that Guru be? He should be doing you hitaha. He should be telling you all the good things, not priyaha, not what you want, but what is actually needed. And if he tells that, you follow that path, but apply your brain also. Don't be, don't be blinded. Don't be following anything blindly. You apply your own mind, says Acharya. And next shloka he says, Mokshasya kanksha yadi vaitavasti tyajati durad vishayan visham yatha piyushavattoshadaya kshamarjava prashantitantir prashanti dhantir bhajanityamadharat. He says, Mokshasya kanksha यदि वैदवास्ति त्यजाति दूरात विषयान विषम्यथा. The one who wants moksha, mokshasya kanksha, mumukshuhu, the one who wants moksha, what should he do? Tyajati durat vishayan vishamyata. Just like how we will avoid, if there is a tumbler that says poison, we would even go there out of curiosity. That says poison, it is written as poison. I don't even want to touch it. And we avoid that, right? Acharya says, just like that, you avoid all those binding sense objects if you want to get moksha. Instead, develop these qualities, says Acharya. What are the qualities that one need to develop? Piyushavat, Tosha, Daya, Kshama, Arjava, Prashanta, Danta. He says 6 qualities that one need to develop in order to travel the path of moksha. What are those 6 qualities? Tosha, always be contented with what you have. Daya, have sympathy towards all the beings that are around you. Kshama, Kshama means forgiveness. If people do something wrong, forgive. பொறுத்தல் இறப்பினை என்றும் அதனை மறத்தல் அதனினும் நன்று. அகழ்வாரை தாங்கும் நிலம் போல தம்மை இகழ்வார் பொறுத்தல் தலை. As Thiruvalluvar says, just forgive and forget. Kshama. And arjavam. Arjavam means straightforwardness, meaning you do what you think, you say, you think what you do. Just don't say one thing and then do the other thing. Be honest, straightforward. Arjavam. Prashanti, Shanti. Have always be calm, always be peaceful. And Dhantihi. And always have self control, self restraint. Instead, develop these qualities, because having these qualities will help you to go towards moksha, says Acharya. And he tells the importance of body, which we will see in the next class. I know today's class is so, what to say, he says, don't go towards all the vishayas, don't go towards all the vishaya. For some people, it might even be frightening, but if we think about it, it will all make sense. Even not for moksha, but if we are reaching towards, if you are, going, if you want to reach any goal, having any distraction will be, will prevent you from reaching that goal. And if the goal is moksha, all these sense objects are definitely a distraction. Even if you want to attain any secular goal, all these sense objects are definitely a distraction. Then what to tell about moksha, which is the parama purushartha? With this, we will finish the class. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. The next class, Papa. Thanks a lot.